bank's not gonna wanna do a house on GB.
No, that's why this plat is done. I mean, there should be no reason that can't be approved. Lot 2 or in lot 3 basically is,
Oh, lots 1, 2, and 3 can.
yeah,
Let's
lots.
set the framework for the PUD and results. Question for Patrick. We need lot 1 platted so you can define that in the PD for the boundaries.
You could also go the measurement description method, but the staff's preference would be a plat. It's always hard because then you get what you're rezoning. You have a legal description, that's half a page long that looks like gobbledygook to most people.
How soon can you have the PD? Can you have that next meeting then?
So the original plan to keep them on schedule was that we hammer out all the details of the PD today. I'm not sure if she has already or not. Melissa may have, because we talked about it. Maybe she has already sent it to the paper. So I'm not exactly sure what. Okay. But our plan is to move it as fast as we can. But the goal was at this meeting we hammer out all the details, and what's next is the public hearing.
So then, yeah, what else do you need from us? I guess if we're gonna call it a nursery and a residence for the PD and plat lot 1, 2, and 3, change the rezone 2 to residential. What's 3 gonna be then?
So it sounds like you just want lot 1 to be the PD and everything else to be
I think
normal zoning. Mr. Reed had some spot zoning concerns.
with it being residential.
Yes, not connected to another residential. So that's where that comes from.
But there's other residential just up the street, just to the north.
His preference is something contiguous.
But
To
it is
continue
it is
the same.
residential and it is business, so all we're doing is defining what's already there. Right.
Yep.
So I don't understand the hang up with everybody getting concerned about spot zoning.
Spot zoning is the hot topic with the tower recently, because that's where it died. So that's what everyone's
That parcel
especially
should be
sensitive.
NR, and it's gotta be something, so whatever it is, it's gonna be isolated by itself, because it's surrounded by something else. See what I'm saying? So all we're doing is calling an existing condition exactly what it is. We're not creating something new, we're just defining what's already there. I don't see that.
And there's
It's
residential
like,
across
it's
the
like
road.
the old police. That's it. Residential. It is what it is, guys. I mean, we can try to call it what it is, but it's a warehouse. Right in the middle of residential. Let's zone it what it is. That's what happens when somebody takes existing use that potential.
So this reminds me of the conversation we had after the cell tower thing, Alyssa, when you called me that you felt that Alliance's little building is commercial. That's what they do there. It exists for a commercial reason. So not rezoning it because of spot zoning. That was your issue as well.
Yeah, I thought it's, what is it, NRC, which we use as kind of a holding designation. But literally, it's being used as a commercial use. So, it's, I mean, even though the spot zoning isn't on paper, it's in practice, that's what it is.
Okay, so let's move along here. So where are we at? Does Patrick have enough?
So it looks like the way you want to move the draft forward is lot one will be the plan development. Do you have any issues with Mr. Coughlin? Do you still have an ownership interest of the business?
I own all the property,
Okay,
but not the business, no.
okay. So, okay, we'd have to work out some language there because it talks about owner occupied in relation to the owner of the business. So we'd have to clarify that a little bit, but we can make it work.
Well, for PD, if he's the owner of the land, I mean, you should be able to make that work, Patrick.
Yep. Yes, we will better define it or make it read correctly.
And
Otherwise, lot two, you would prefer eventually a rezone from to R1. Any preference on lot three?
I would, if you're concerned about spot zoning, I would probably leave that as R1 until they move their business to the west.
Yeah, so lot,
Or it, conceptually, it could stay GB then.
Okay, that's fine.
It's the access to the highway.
Then you don't have to worry about it later. If it's already GB, that makes sense.
so the,
It's,
so just quickly, yeah, lot three there is designated kind of as a or a placeholder for where we're gonna get access with the DOT. We met with them a couple months ago, and they're working on the Highway 11 project, and they didn't quite know where we could get it, but they said generally in that area, 600 feet away from that access, but depending on how their final design works out, they'll give us a solid answer, so we kind of give ourselves a little room to react to their plan.
That's to access the property farther to the west.
Correct. Yep.
So, one timing question for the group. I'm not sure if we have sent notice to the paper to get out in front of it or not, but in the event we have, and it lists all of it as a PD, are you okay moving forward that way, or would you require renotice of lot two, which would, if it would delay things? How set are you on it, R1, basically?
I think that
I'm just not sure
having
where
it,
we are in the.
yeah, I think
New
having it
notice.
R1 would be better for the homeowner for loans and lots of other things than a PD. I think a PD would cause a little bit more problem than R1 from what I deal with. So, not a big deal. I think either one should be fine. I think that, because a lot of times if you get a lender that looks at something and then they want a comparable property with the same zoning, that's going to be a tough thing. So it could be a problem from the lender's side, or from the appraiser would be hassled for a long time. And so I would rather see it R1 for that reasoning. I don't know that it would be a big thing, but it could be a problem.
Is not to beat the horse to death, but is there anything else you would like included in there? Are the uses fine? I don't necessarily want to bring it up in a public meeting, but I do know you have talked to the cell tower people. Is that something you consider enough to have it be in there? I don't want to put you on the spot as a public record.
I don't think on any of this property.
Okay.
I think they were thinking more any of the cell tower stuff, the field to the west of the tower.
Okay. I just didn't want to run into a situation where you were 95% of the way through and they wanted to put it somehow somewhere on what would be lot one, and then all of a sudden we write something that doesn't allow it.
I know you mentioned they've asked you questions about it before, but I think that's as far as it goes.
Well, I think they were pursuing what they just went through. they called me 5 years ago, and wanted a tower on the corner up there, and if it went anyplace, it would have to go on that one lot. But we haven't dealt with them at all for quite a while.
Okay, I just didn't wanna put a wrench in a plan you had working behind the scenes or anything. Okay. We will create a new draft, I'll email you over a draft once it's done to look it over, and we will get it scheduled for a public hearing as soon as we can. Preferably as an R1 rezone along with the creation of a PD.
So the other lot with the greenhouses, if I'm not mistaken, the greenhouses, I mean, even if we did something in writing that they have to be off of there at a certain point in time, can that be zoned residential and then with a,
You can, once the greenhouses are done. Then you can plat it up. Right now, it's gonna be in the plat one with the nursery. It'll all be together for now.
can you still do something maybe? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Okay, how important is it to do the
Yep. I will,
13 and 14? Are
I
those
will-
important?
how much longer do you want to remain, or are you good with determining a quorum for July 3rd? How much longer do you want to be here?
I'm about ready to be done. I think everybody's about ready to be done, unless we have to.
The freestanding sign thing does kind of feed into Quick Star a little bit. Attached accessory structure setbacks is of interest to one developer that wants to pursue part of a project but I'll leave it all. I understand we're pushing 10 o'clock, so I also don't want to force you to be here because I get it that we've been here a while. And planning and zoning is not life or death, so it's not like if we miss a meeting that
Well,
something's going to happen to
some
somebody.
people
So.
think it's life or death. Okay, so you want to do 13 and 14, or we want to be done? You got a baby at home to see. Yeah.
He'll be up all
Yeah,
night
you
still.
got a pack. Yeah. I'd like to eat supper, so, okay. All right, so we need to decide, can we have a quorum here on the 3rd or not? That's right before.
That
Okay,
is
we
a
got
Thursday.
We got a map up here.
And the 4th is a Friday, and some people, like to take a long weekend. So that's why we're asking. I just didn't want to schedule public hearings and all that junk if we're going to end up with 3 people and not a quorum. Get a bunch of people here and they'll
I'm
be
good.
disappointed.
I should be here.
I don't vote, so. Okay. Rob, you're okay?
I might be gone. I can call in.
Brooks, are you around?
Okay.
If there's a chance I'm gone, I can call in.
Yeah, okay. All right. So I don't want to jam people up if we don't do these 2 things. Are we going to have an issue with the sign thing? Is that going to slow us down?
I think most of that, what we really need to do is have that discussion with the overlay
Okay.
section.
Okay.
Not, this is,
This one's a big
can be independent of that. If we do the overlay district robust enough to include that, then
So you want it pulled back then and bring it back to us? Yeah, I agree with that.
Is there anything pushing this? I don't remember what instigated this.
I think you started it.
It started from the discussion we had on where the billboards were. So the other item, a quick rundown. The attached accessory structure thing is easy. right now, we treat accessory structures need to be 10 feet from a principal building and 5 feet from property line. And how do you want to treat, say, so basically what the amendment seeks to clarify is that you would treat an attached accessory structure like a deck to the setbacks of the principal structure it's attached to. So a deck would have to be in the buildable box rather than unless it's open, unenclosed, uncovered, less than 12 inches above grade. Say it's 10 feet off the ground, and that it would have to meet the box rather than 5 feet off the property line. If the structure can have it there, the deck could be there with the structure rather than treat it differently. So the example we're looking at is a row of townhouses. To account for the topography, they go between the structures and they're at different heights. We want them to be able to expand even though the full length is what it does. And I think that's how we interpret it anyway. We just want to clarify because there's some open for interpretation. We just want a solid approach moving forward. If the patio is, if it was 5 feet off the ground, would that, I guess it could go to 7. Paul has a better explanation. He's been working with it.
As long as it's not parking, it can be within 5 feet of the property line. Like what is it? Right. Yeah, we may have to take patios out, right? We'll think about the patio piece. But
How
it-
about you guys look at this and like send them your comments via email? How's that sound? If you got something pertinent, okay? Before we start it down a rabbit hole again, okay? All right, I'm gonna call for a motion to adjourn because you certainly have earned your $50 tonight or whatever you guys get paid.
Item 15, Paul's built a lot of stuff.
I'd bring so moved.
Tote second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. All right, thank you everybody for your work.
We are adjourned at 9:53 p.m.